Anyway, where was I? Yes, okay, I was talking about the hats for the third time now. Okay, so the first one, similar deal. EQ, some enveloper, that's to give it more attack. If I take that off, not quite as punchy, and compressor. For some reason I've used compression a lot on these drums on like individual channels. I don't really normally tend to do that much, but in this case I think I went a bit wild, but it sounds fine, you know, whatever sounds good for the track. And that's another hat. So you can see all these parts come together, and these have all been bussed together, and this is labelled Ultrabeat hats. And again, these have added some EQ. Oh no, there's no EQ on there, but I just used it to sort of visualise the spectrum there. I use a lot of visual feedback as well as audio feedback. And then that's got some sort of group compression going on to sort of glue it together. Without it, it sounded like that. And with it, you know, it sort of brings all the parts together. Right, so that's sort of the snares and the hats. Now I've added some extra sort of shaker loops and things along here, all as sort of audio clips. I like to do this, I like to mix MIDI and audio, you know. MIDI I tend to use it when I've got things layered on top of each other and I want to make quick adjustments to like the rhythm and the beat, like the kicks and the snares and the hi-hats. But these are like shakers and loops and individual hits like that ride. You wouldn't normally do that ride in MIDI because it's just one hit and you can just sequence that in your DAW. Easy peasy. Towards the end of here, the second part of the first break, I've actually got some different stuff going on. I've got some cowbells going on. And that just sort of shakes it up a bit, gives it a bit more groove. They're slightly panned apart. And now we're going to a cowbell bus with lots of different processing on, such as, I've put a channel EQ on there again, but just to sort of visualise what's going on. Bit of limiting, not too much, just enough. And I've added this. This is a great little plugin. If you're trying to find like an artificial sort of stereo wideness, like a lot of people use that on their mid-range basses these days. Following from the lines of like Downlink, Datsic, Excision, you know, people are going mad for sort of wide stereo. But in Logic it's got a brilliant little plugin called Spreader which does almost exactly that. I mean, used within consideration, and you got to blend it just right. So I'll play without it. Right, you can hear that it's a little bit mono, and with it, it's completely spread it to either side using, it's a sort of type of chorus added with channel delay that Logic is sort of built into one plug. If I whack up the intensity, you'll really hear what it, you know, what it does. So that's really wide there, and you can hear it almost sort of churning away here. If I turn up the speed, oh, you can't really hear that much. But I've turned that down to about 30%. So it's giving a nice little sort of stereo wideness added to the later part of the track. So if I mute those for now and I'll play it, then I'll mute it, because everything's almost at the moment shooting down the middle. It's almost all in sort of mono-ish, apart from some of the bass. And with this, it just sort of adds a little bit more wideness, a bit more clarity to the stereo field. I mean, subtle it may be, but it does definitely do something. Right, let's move on. Okay, I think I should probably hit up the bass first. So the bass is actually made up of a few things. I made mine with the ES2. Really, really good little synth. Well, it's not little, it's got massive potential to do lots of stuff. It's got not only this sort of modulation matrix, it's got vector modes, which are sort of time-based. Oh man, it's just too complicated. I can sort of get into it and sort of know what I'm doing, but if you're a novice or, you know, you're not really comfortable with using it, I would just leave it alone. Sorry, not to sound condescending, but it really is just very difficult to get to grips with. So the bass is made with two parts. It's got a mid bass like this, it's a sub bass, sorry. Mid bass like this. And a sub bass lowered underneath. And together they sound like this. Okay, let's attack the mid bass first. Take all the plugins off so it's just the raw sound. Let's go to bus 11 as well. I'll take all that off. So that's how it started life, you know, pretty sort of plain. It's a mixture of sort of some frequency modulation with sort of weird oscillators. It's got like a square sync going on. Some of these waveforms down here you can right click and choose. Almost in the same way that Massive has like wavetables you can choose from the different sorts of sounds. These are sort of same, so sort of I've got like Vox 2, so I guess it's kind of like almost like a vocal sounding oscillator. There's organ, Vox 3. It's all about just going through, finding which one you want, and I've blended these together. I've got some filtering, I think I might have automated that. Let's have a look here. I've got some chorus going on as well. So that's without it, and then with the chorus. Just helps it to spread out the stereo field a little bit more. And these are sort of layered, actually they're all on the same octave. I would normally split them so some of them are a bit higher than the others. It's also got some analog detuning on, so that's without it. Pretty plain. This is with it. So you can see the sort of oscillators are going in and out of phase of each other. I've turned it right the way up. You know, it's almost sort of going out of tune there. Well, they're going out of tune with each other. But it gives it quite a nice analog feel. I quite like that in Logic Synths. It has little added bonuses like this. I'm not going to go completely into what everything I've done here. Apart from the FM amount here has been modulated by an LFO. If I take down the FM amount, it sounds like that. And if I bump this right up, you hear that? The LFO's controlling the amount of frequency modulation is going on the first oscillator. Let's bump that down again. I think it's about there. This has also got unison on. Quite a lot of unison actually, just to really thicken it out. Without unison, I dare to hear what it sounds like. Yeah, quite flat, quite simple. So lots of unison, lots of stereo spread. The analog turn up to sort of detune it a little bit. The first step was to sort of, I'll show you. You can see here on the screen, right here, there's quite a lot of sub bass going on, and I didn't want that in there because I'm layering a sine wave sub with it. So if I turn that on, that's removed all of the sub bass that I'll add later in another channel. I like to do this because it gives you more control, you know, separating out your frequencies. And I've added a little high in there to pick out some of those nice rich harmonics you got there and the sort of the raw of it. I've also compressed this together, make it more solid. And I've added a little bit of distortion, some extra distortion on top. Give it a bit more girth, a bit more raw. And on top of this, I quite like to do these with these sort of basses that are quite sort of floaty and I don't know how to describe them. They sound more sort of liquidy, drum and bassy. I love to use ring shifters. A ring shifter is an amazing effect. I can't quite describe now without going into too much detail how they work, but it does this to your sound basically. I mean, that's very, very fine-tuned with an LFO and things. It wouldn't normally sound like that straight out the box. You do need to fiddle with it, but that's how I've done that mid-bass. That's also going to like an all-bass channel, which I'll come to in a minute when I've done the sub-bass.